Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is Tom. So I had a request to cover some information about antivirus, and so I wanted to go ahead and take a little bit of time to do that. There was another video I was trying to get up before then, but I was trying to talk about how to install a super secure operating system exclusively for banking, nothing else. But I was running into a few snags, so I actually do these on a SanDisk USB 2 thumb drive. So this represents the tiny little computer that I use for anything dealing with banking or credit card numbers and stuff like that. So I was going to work on a video on that, but I was running into problems that the Pony or PNY, whatever these guys are, these things suck. So I tried 3 different devices. I could not get the thing working correctly despite it being USB 2, just like my SanDisk ones. So I'm going to pick up some USB 3 drives and then come back and do that video again. So I thought I'd go ahead and do this video because it was one that did not need any other stuff that I didn't have. I just need to record it. Also, sorry if the audio quality is not as good. I still use this junky mic. Now on my Linux Mint computer, the junky mic actually works out just fine for me. There's just something in the software of that computer that sounds great. Ubuntu, I don't know if I've tried KDE system, but my Ubuntu system and this computer, they're not sounding quite as good. The other problem, like I said, this is my OpenSUSE Enlightenment desktop. This is actually running on a USB 3 flash drive. So the entire operating system, it runs pretty good. I'm running into a few stability issues, which I actually blame more on, I don't think Enlightenment is really a market-ready system. I think it's cool. It's kind of growing on me a little. I still miss my KDE desktop, but we're going to talk a little bit today about antivirus, though. And hopefully my video doesn't crash. I thought, people might like to see the small video up in the corner. I'm actually running this on the GUView program, just because I, for whatever reason on this computer, OBS just won't run. So I'm running into a lot of stability issues with Enlightenment on OpenSUSE. I don't want this to necessarily represent my experience with OpenSUSE as a whole. But the Enlightenment desktop, it's really cool. It really has some neat elements to it. But I just don't think it's really ready for regular consumers yet. This is definitely not a system I'd run on a full production computer. All that to say, my camera picture kept crashing on me. Hopefully it doesn't crash and get through this video. That was, starting or stopping different programs, whatever else. But one of the things I like about the system is on each individual window on Enlightenment, I can go in and I can decide if it actually has a border or not. So I was able to get rid of the program window title and all that, just put the camera up there in the corner and got rid of that. And it almost gets the same effect that I wanted on OBS, really. So, except that I can't shift between full screen and partial screen camera. But I think actually this records better anyway. I've always had better program with this particular camera on this program rather than OBS or anything like that. So anyway, on to the question about antivirus. Somebody asked about antivirus on Windows and Mac, and so I wanted to address that a little bit because there's a lot of conversation back and forth. Some people will jump out and say, it's Linux, it doesn't need antivirus. And some people will jump out, like there was the video by a former Linux guy that went back to Windows. That was Matthew Moore or Michael Moore, something Moore. And he did a video debunking antivirus, and he actually ran an antivirus program and showed, see, there's a virus on my Linux computer. Well, if you look at that and know what you're actually doing in computers, what that scanner found was a DLL file. And if you don't know what a DLL file, it's a dynamic library file, which is the way a Windows program utilizes. So yes, he did indeed find a virus on his Linux computer. The thing is that virus could not do anything. And that's why, one of the reasons why people say you don't really need antivirus on Linux. The second real reason that antivirus has never really been a problem with Linux is Linux has traditionally been an operating system for people who are a little bit more computer savvy. You don't get a Linux system usually running in a scenario where people need a lot of real hand holding for basics. There's a lot of user help forums to explain some of the difficult things, or people sharing their solutions or whatever, but you don't get a lot of the same things that you get on a Windows or a Mac system, like, you know, how do I find the control panel or stuff like that, you know. So all that just to say, there are very good legitimate reasons why you want a antivirus on Linux. Number one, now I'm going to actually pull up, because people ask this question. I think one of the best places to go for a lot of general Linux help is the Ubuntu forums. Now, it's not going to help on everything, but definitely Ubuntu or any Ubuntu-based system, the Ubuntu forums is the best place to go. So somebody asks this question on the Ubuntu system, and they give some documentation here, and they list here 9 reasons why you might want to run antivirus. Now, and I'm going to add a 10th. The one I'm going to add, which I will put in first because it's not on my list right in front of my face, is we get more and more people switching over to use Linux. We are going to have a less savvy user base, and we need to not let that in the Linux community bother us. We need to be ready to address some of the bigger questions. But ultimately, I'm going to run through these, and then I'm going to tell you kind of my take on it, okay? But number one that I'll list, the one that I'm going to contribute to the list, is that we are going to have hopefully more people who are not quite as tech savvy on the Linux. And I'm going to get to why that's an important reason at the end of the video here. But you can see here that Ubuntu has listed a few other reasons, or whoever wrote this article. Number one, obviously, if you are in any system, and with more and more and more people working at home, in fact, one statistic I saw said that as many as 50% of people will work in freelance within the next, 10 years or less. And I understand that, because I've worked in freelance for 6 years now, and sometimes it's really great and highly profitable, and sometimes it's a little tight. You got to decide for yourself. But as we are working more freelance, some of us are working freelance and some of us are working remote. So I did, for example, I was at a seminar last week where the person presented on computer security for a major university. They had, as a telecommuter, they had a contract set out as a telecommuter, but if you are working in a situation like that, they will require you to be running antivirus. So obviously, you gotta run it. Okay. Number two, if you are dual booting and you have a Windows drive on your computer, or number three, was it number 3? I thought it was on this list. Anyway, either running a dual boot or potentially a VirtualBox or something, you might want that for there. I'm not sure you can access what's in the VirtualBox, come to think of it. But you may want an antivirus program on the Linux computer to scan the Windows computer. And the reason is some antivirus, or some viruses in malicious code right now are kind of written to kind of bypass the big name brand antivirus systems, or could even hide in certain places that a Linux system, a Linux antivirus scanner, may actually find it. Okay? So you might want to have it, because if you have Windows computers on your network, if you happen to have a malicious code on a Windows computer on your network, then some programs, for example, the ransomware programs, they can actually go back, and any network attached drive, those ransomware programs could attach to. And so if there's Windows computers sharing back and forth, you may want to run an antivirus program. Obviously, you can, using a terminal command with remote access, you can scan a Windows machine remotely. They're number 5 on their list here is the virtual machine. I was looking for that real quick, didn't spot it. Now the last few here are kind of important, and they tie in. Well, let's do 8 first. If you are running Wine, now this is important because a lot of people still have some Windows programs they want to run. Now I've pretty much given up trying to run my Adobe suite. I've heard, according to all of the Wine documentation, that the programs work. It's just the installer doesn't. It's kind of hard to get this thing working without the installer. And so I'm just looking at it going, whatever, because I've come to find that Bluefish is just as reliable as Dreamweaver. I'm just as efficient in it. GIMP is pretty close to Photoshop. We're getting there in that. So, you know, I've kind of given up on that. But there's a couple Windows programs, a couple games I'd run in that I really wanted to keep, you know. And so I have Wine installed on a couple of my Linux machines, and they run the Windows program that I want to run pretty good. In fact, almost flawlessly good. Couple little bugs, but nothing major. And so, in that respect, if you have Wine, which is it actually stands for Wine is not an emulator, but basically what you have with Wine is you have a compatibility layer that allows Windows programs to run on Linux. If you happen to be running Wine, you want an antivirus because something could be in there. Now, number 9, Linux viruses are theoretically possible. And again, going back to the point I added, as more and more people become less computer savvy on the Linux system, as the Linux user base rises, so will the amount of viruses written for Linux also rise. And so we have to be prepared for that. And so running and getting used to running an antivirus program may be handy. Now, the other items here, to scan files you're going to send other people, or to scan email you're going to forward to other people. So these are things a lot of people don't think about, but a lot of viruses pass through email. And if you are not doing any antivirus scanning on any emails or anything, you may not be, if you can think back in biological terms for a little bit here, a person can be a carrier for a disease without being infected by a disease. Linux can be a carrier for a Windows disease. How many computer viruses would be stopped distributing through email platforms or whatever else if the Apache server computers happen to be running an antivirus on the back end and could pick these things out of the air through the emails going through? That'd be a neat thing to look at. But we're like, we don't have virus problems. Why bother? And I've done that. I've set up Apache servers without virus scanners. Maybe I'll have to go back and rethink that. But an email, if somebody sends me an email, like I get, in fact, I got 2 or 3 of them today I know of, that I'm pretty sure are the ransomware software, just keep on coming to, you know, old forward-facing sales pages sales emails I had a long time ago. You know, I get a lot of these. I keep the emails active because occasionally I do get something real in there. But a lot of those I'm pretty sure are viruses. And if I'm running an antivirus on a Linux system, then I will actually be able to spot that. The system will spot that, and it can pluck it out of there without it being forwarded on to anybody else or doing anything else. So scanning emails or scanning files you're going to send other people is a very big reason why you might want an antivirus on a Linux computer. So we don't want to fall under the one extreme to say Linux is secure, you don't need it. But you don't want to fall on the other side and say, I absolutely have to be running antivirus under every circumstance. I almost, in many ways, think that the antivirus craze is really something that was a market-driven issue. Meaning in business that instead of finding a problem and solving it, you create the perception of the problem to solve it. And that's kind of what the difference is. I really think, not in every case, but in many cases, and some people may not like the video because I said that, but I'll say it this way. My take on antivirus is this. First and foremost, you have to be a person who is a little computer savvy. Okay? So what are these things that we need to look at? Well, we need to be very conscious to not click anything that just shows up on our email without looking at it. I mean, I ran into a case, even I who analyzes this stuff daily, I know, I can probably tell you with pretty close certainty the types of scams and shams and phishing attacks that are going around. even I almost was fooled by one the other day. I literally had to go on and boot up the system on a computer to double check it, because one of the problems with your phones and stuff is we're checking more and more emails on our phone, is I don't have the option on my phone of checking the source of a link. So if somebody sends me an email with a link in it, and I'm pretty sure, actually sure somebody had sent me one of those recently, so let me double check that real quick. Yeah, I thought there was something else there, but yeah, there's probably okay. Oh, hey, I know this is legitimate here. This is a legitimate email. I was expecting it. It's from a company I was expecting. There should be legitimate links in here. Okay, so I cannot. Okay, I guess on an iPhone, at least on this version of the iPhone, I can hold over it and pull it up, and it will show me what the URL is. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know I had it on this phone, but it was really, in some cases, hard to check where an address is going. So on Firefox, and many other, like here I'm looking at it on Outlook. I have an email open up over here on Outlook. There's a link in here. If I hover over this, it tells me where it's going to. Well, this email that almost tried to fool me here, it was basically one of the fake Microsoft ones that looked exactly like a Microsoft email. Current branding, current logo, current everything. Had a link button in there. I'm like, wow, that's neat. I actually had to come to the computer, log in, hover over that link just to double check, because I almost think it's a little scary on the phone. Because what if I click, and fell off it or something? Now I just clicked on my phone on some scam link. It's probably a phishing attack, and I don't know what they're trying to do. So over here on Outlook, I can just hover over the link, and it will show me where it's going. So if that's not going to something that's a Microsoft domain on a Hotmail account, well, that's a problem. And that was one of those cases. So you need to be very conscious not to open any attachments you're not expecting, not to click any links that you do not know the origin for. And this goes not just on a computer, but also on a phone or whatever else. Okay? You also want to be careful about clearing your cookies, clearing your caches, and just making sure you have a clean system. You don't want to just leave cache laying all over the place of your house and have a party or something. You want to get everything cleaned up. Not that you don't necessarily trust your guests, but maybe you don't trust your guest's friend that your guest decided to bring because he was hanging out with him that night and whatever. You get that type of situation going. All of that to say, the best defense that you can have is to be intelligent about what you're doing. Now, another reason that Linux does not need antivirus quite as much is you have a smaller chance of adding a program that is actually malicious yourself. And I would say that probably accounts for a good percentage of malware. For example, a lot of the malware I've cleaned off of computers over the recent years, the biggest source, people always joke, like porn's the biggest source of malware. I don't know. I really haven't been on porn sites. And I don't really know anybody that I don't think they're on porn sites. But the biggest source of viruses I have seen in the last decade is coupon websites. Coupon websites. They're browser hijackers. They take everything over. It's a bunch of crap. There's a lot of stuff on there that is not good. So, downloading programs onto your computer. The next big reason is bloatware or add-on programs that come. And what drives me the most crazy and pisses me off the most is the programs, the companies that should know better. For example, Adobe Flash, Adobe Player, Oracle's Java. If you go to those sites and you download, in fact, I'm going to do that right now. I have a Windows computer over here. I don't think Java is a program that you should have running on your computer unless you absolutely know that you have to have it. So I'm actually going to, if I can, download it over here, because the last time I've tried to run Java, let's see, I'm going to walk through the installer here if I can find the installer. Where'd the installer just go? There you are. Okay. So the last time I tried to install this and Flash and whatever else, it tries to add a bunch of extra crap along with it. Okay, let's see this. This isn't even giving me any options. I have no idea what it's doing. Hopefully that's just an install or download. I don't know. I'm just playing with my Windows computer right now on live camera. Hopefully it doesn't kill anything. Okay, there we are. Okay, so here is the Java setup. I just went onto Java's website for the official Oracle page. I downloaded the program. And my recommended setup, I kid you not, this is what it says. Set Yahoo as your home page and default search engine on all browsers, plus get a custom new tab page on Firefox and Chrome. This is to download Java. By clicking Next and accepting the recommended Yahoo search offerings, your use is subject to Yahoo's terms and conditions and privacy policies. See if I can even see what these are. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's see if the word NSA is in here, shall we? Susceptible. And compensation. Yeah. You are not entitled to any compensation by submitting ideas, suggestions, documents, and or proposals to Yahoo through its suggested feedback website. Whatever. All right, boring. Oh, what's its privacy policy? Let's see if NSA is listed there. Oh, transactions. But this is the crap we get on a Windows computer. And last time I've tried to install Flash or Adobe Reader, I think, you get the same thing. It tries to package Yahoo's toolbar with it. In fact, it doesn't tell me here, but I'm imagining if I went ahead and clicked Next on that, I'm imagining that it would install that toolbar. I'm going to click Do Not Update Browser. Let's see what it next wants to do. Oh, it's actually installing. Yeah. Oh well, I'll kill that later. But anyway, when you go to a program on Windows and you're like, okay, I need Java, you go to Java's program. If you just click those defaults, you're installing all that stuff. Like the Ask toolbar. You know that Ask collects more data than like Google? That's crazy. It's going to bother me now. I got Java on my computer. I'm going to uninstall it. I'm going to have to check my browsers, make sure it didn't bring on the add-on Yahoo add-on toolbar, even though I said don't do anything with my browsers. That's this type of stuff that irritates me, because this is a company that should know better. So what I want to do to show you the issues and the differences here is I wanted to just find a program that I knew was available on multiple platforms. And so I went with BleachBit. So Windows has the version for like the program that I would use on a Windows system rather than this is CCleaner. Although CCleaner is kind of losing its soul, and so I'm not quite as liking of them right now. I just don't seem to like what Paraform is doing. But BleachBit here. Okay, well now what's Java want? What do you want? Restore Java security prompts. I don't know what this thing's trying to do. Alright, cool. Now that I've successfully installed Java, no, we're not even gonna verify it. We're just gonna go right into the programs folder and delete you. Thank you. Oh lordy, they keep on changing the narrative. Programs and features in Windows 7, right? Hey, Java. Yep, uninstall. Good night. Alright, so anyway, sorry about that. So I came over here to BleachBit because BleachBit is available on Windows, Mac, and Linux. So we're going to come over here and we are going to, obviously here we have a download button, right? And there's a download button up here, and you can see and verify the link down there at the bottom left of the screen. It says it's going to bleachbit.org/download. Sure, let's go there. Okay, so we're going to the download button. Now, here, under the download button, I have this guy up here, which is an ad, because I'm not running ad blockers. This guy is an ad, and these are the only two download links I see. Remember, I'm downloading. Think not necessarily computer savvy person. You come over here and you hit download, because you don't really think that there's multiple versions of computers out there. You know, it's just not even something that has crossed your mind. Boot up my internet over here, make sure it did not mess with any of my settings as it was. All right, good. We look awesome, I think. Oh, good. No Yahoo. Awesome. All right. So over here, I can pick the installation package: BlackBerry, email servers, Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. I'm going to click on Windows. Now, when I come to Windows, here I have the big download button here. I have the big download button over here. I got some over here that says BleachBit, which is another ad, I think. Clothes, cloth, or something. I don't know. Whatever. But here, these four little links that don't look like download buttons, these are actually your download buttons. Now you have to decide which one you want. Of course, I'd take the portable version, because I'd just download it once and distribute it on my internal network to any of the Windows computers I have, which I guess that's one anymore. Anyway, but this is your download. All right. Now on Linux, I'm just going to go back to the download button up here. If I go to Linux, I'm still getting these guys up here, the ads, which is actually quite annoying to me. I would be in huge favor of not allowing something that says download now on a Google ad, because this here causes too many people to download stuff they don't know what they're downloading. And I don't know what this IT help desk is. Is this some guy from Microsoft Technical Support? You're going to install something from Microsoft Technical Support will come find you? I mean, come on, what is this? But here with the Linux, you can look at the various Linux distros. Now, again, though, realize that on Linux distributions, you do not need to come over here and download. So I'm on OpenSUSE, so I'm going to click on the last OpenSUSE link. So you can see here that I can download the file here, and it's actually going to give me an auto download. Now, this type of thing is actually dangerous. You do not want to do this. If somebody had gotten in and done a man-in-the-middle attack, and I know it's in HTTPS, but there are ways around that. If somebody gets in here and pushes some software code up to you that you don't know what it is, you're installing something you don't know what it is. So the first thing you want to do on any Linux distribution is see, is this available in a repository? And BleachBit's pretty much available everywhere. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to show you how to get it in two ways. First, the fast way is the terminal. Don't be too afraid of the terminal. Just open this up. Type in sudo to get your username, like your do this action as a super user. And then on this version of OpenSUSE, we're doing apt-get install BleachBit. It's going to prompt you for your password. And then it's going to check the repositories and see if BleachBit is available. In this case, it is actually available. So here it's saying, hey, would you like to download the program? This is the safe way to install a Linux program, because we're not downloading anything from some nebulous internet. We're actually grabbing this directly from the package repositories. I'm going to hit no, because I'm going to show you the other way to do this. Nope, I keep forgetting. I do not have my Windows key mapped to my menu here. This is one of the things I am not a fan of on OpenSUSE, and I think this is an OpenSUSE issue, not an Enlightenment issue, is the software management tool. And please let me know if I'm incorrect about that. I'd actually like to know. But there's no graphical user interface, no GUI software installer I know of. Now I can come over here and I can type in BleachBit, and if I know exactly what I'm looking for, here's where I can install BleachBit from. So this is the safe way to install a program under Linux. because we do not have to go anywhere. I'm not getting any add-on programs like Oracle tacking on crap. I'm not getting any potential of something being inappropriately passed. Well, unless somebody manages to hack these servers too, theoretically possible. That did happen in Linux Mint at one point in time. People were not downloading what they thought they were. But if you did a checksum, past that. But overall, this here is going to prevent you from getting any issues. So hit finish, and now I should have BleachBit. And of course, there went my my video there. Let me see. Looks like my audio is still going, so I'm just going to go. You'll see there I had my video there crashed. I'm about done. I'm just going to leave that off. So anyway, that's kind of my take on the antivirus. So do we need it? Well, or do you follow under one of these issues? Do you send and receive files? It'd be handy to have an antivirus. Do you have to have antivirus installed by terms of the company you're working with? If the answer to that question is yes, you do. Do you need to scan Windows drives on either this computer or a network attached system? Or check a virtual box? You know, these are all reasons that you want to run a system. Now, is a malicious code going to run specifically on your Linux machine? The likely chances of that is no, because there are so few Linux viruses out there, and even fewer in the wild, meaning actually available to infect something. So all of that being said, though, in our world, people interact with different computers all the time. And if I'm on an infected Windows system and I send a file to somebody on a Mac, the Mac may not be very, infected at all. But if they take that email file and they send it on to somebody else on another Windows computer, the Mac became a carrier for that virus. And the same thing can happen with Linux. It can become a carrier for the virus. So do you want to run antivirus? Chances are you do. Now, there's several different antivirus options. I'm not going to show you how to use all of these options, but here you can look down. Now, again, this is a Linux, or an Ubuntu, I'm sorry, an Ubuntu forum. You'd want to check it out for your individual distro. Most of your more common distros are based on Ubuntu, so this is a good way to go. What I did on this OpenSUSE is I installed the Clam AV that they're talking about here. So here is the information about Clam AV. Now the downside is the GUI interface is not available. I didn't have a chance to look up if I need one. I'm actually not even using this computer for any email or anything. So, but down here is how to actually use the system. The one factor about this program that you need to keep in mind, though, is that it can identify any Windows executable as a virus. So do not set this program to automatically remove anything unless you absolutely have to. I believe that was this one. Now, my take, now that we've gotten through all of this, I haven't run antivirus in years. I don't have any issues either. Now, I don't run active antivirus, I should say. What I do is, first, you do a lot of good practices. You don't do a lot of crazy, weird, or random internet searches, and you really think twice about sites you're looking at. You don't want to open unexpected attachments in email, even if it's from somebody that you know. I've received a lot of weird things in my inboxes from people that I know because their computer had a virus. Kind of how they spread. So as far as if you happen to be on a Windows machine, I personally think Windows Defender is just your way to go. Because it's free, it's low resource, and frankly, they're going to push the updates to you whether you want them or not. So on a Windows 10 machine, that's what I do. Now, I would also, though, back that up with about a weekly or so scan with Malwarebytes. Just pick any other system. Now, I don't use the active protect Malwarebytes. I just use the free version that I have to do a manual scan on. So that's what I do for there. As far as my Linux computers, again, depending on the circumstances and situations, I pretty much know what's a virus pretty quickly, and I remove them from the computer as quickly as they come in. So I personally do not run much in the way of antivirus, except to say that I'll run some, about once a month or so. I'll go through all the computers and do some basic cleaning. So I'd use the ClamAV for the Linux system, mostly because I want to try and stick with programs that have the widest compatibility, and this is one of the ones that does. So that's kind of my take on antivirus. I did the whole thing here on the OpenSUSE Enlightenment desktop. So hopefully that you got a chance to see a little bit more about how this system works. A couple other things. Let me just tack on a few things to the end of this. I am finding a few little stability issues, but things like I can turn the borders off on Windows, which is kind of cool, but I can't seem to drag them around. But if you just come down here, right-click, uncheck the borders, I can drag them where I want them to. Resizing windows is kind of a pain I've found, and occasionally when I resize a window, I run into an issue where it's kind of hard to, let's see, can I do, yeah, it's pretty much impossible to drag this thing around without those borders on there. Overall, though, I mean, I really like it. I love this neon green look. I actually had a computer in college back when DVD encoders were first coming out, and I had a system that would change the background, like the default background, to overlay the DVD image mask. And I created a theme that looked similar to this on Windows. I think it was Windows 98 or something, where everything was all black except neon green, and I could literally watch a movie on top, like behind all of the work I was doing. It's kind of fun. But anyway, this has been just a quick video on antivirus and Windows and Linux, and I didn't touch on the Mac much at all. Most of what I said about Linux is kind of true for the Mac as well. So this has been Tom, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.